once again, we're back, and we're not in Vegas. The folks saw a lot of us in our Vegas hotel room.
We weren't at our best in Vegas.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We did great work, but we weren't at our best.
I was gonna go what, and then I remembered that first show was.
I literally had my glasses on. You forgot to put your seeing glasses on, if you remember. I had to get up and get them for you. We were a disaster on day 2 of Vegas.
But I thought we put our head down and got to work, and it wasn't always pretty, but we found a way to get the job done.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that we could have done better here and there, and then we'll look to clean those up. I'm not going to tell you what those are, but overall, pretty satisfied.
It's better to learn lessons in a win. Am I right? And we'll go back and we'll take a look. We'll watch the shows, and we'll make sure that the things that we need to address are addressed. But
credit to the other guys. They put up a good fight. But.
Right, and we'll take it. We'll take the win, and we'll make sure that we clean those things up. We'll be even better next time.
Indeed, well done.
I love that.
Well played. Good bit.
Yeah, great bit. How's it going? I haven't seen you since we got back from Vegas. Have you? I think you and I were both in pretty good shape leaving Vegas.
Oh yeah, I mean, our rowdiness kind of started up here and declined because we needed it to. We had to be sharp for the draft itself. I mean, it was a grueling draft. My first draft ever. I didn't really realize what goes into it, but really being there for that long and kind of there are moments where you're just like, this fear scaring the piss out of us every 35 seconds. That took a toll. We had to be sharp later on as that trip continued. The NHL Awards was weird but fun to experience. Great seeing Nathan MacKinnon and the Hart Trophy and everything like that. So
I'm so torn on that awards experience because I thought the structure of the show was better than years past.
Well, let me ask you this. If Nathan MacKinnon didn't win the Hart Trophy, would you have a different feeling about that?
No, and let me tell you why.
Please.
I went to the awards where he lost to Taylor Hall. I was there. And then last year in Nashville, who was up for an award from the Avs?
Cale Makar?
Was it Cale up for the Norris again?
Yeah.
And
right? It had to be.
Right. I believe so. I think you're right. You are right. Because I talked to him before the awards. It was Cale for the Norris. And the way that the show structure used to be was it was a 3-hour event. And they did every award, and they brought out special guests and honorable mentions and award honorees, and they have a couple of the Willie O'Ree award, which isn't typically awarded to an NHL player. It's to someone who impacts their community, the hockey community in their area, and they were 3-hour events. And so when I was in Vegas for the NHL awards, when Nathan MacKinnon didn't win the Hart Trophy, we sat there and 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 sat there, and then he lost. And then we had to go interview Taylor Hall, and I will never forget AJ Hafley. I was working with AJ at the time, and he had his whole story typed in WordPress, and he had the mouse hovering over publish. Nathan MacKinnon wins the Hart Trophy. I will never forget. They announced it. Delete.
Delete.
Don't save. Yeah. Close his laptop. I was like, oh, fuck. But so the reason that my answer wouldn't be any different is because had he not won either of those awards, it would have been 50 minutes, and then we would have left.
Yeah, I guess
we wouldn't have waited around all day.
You're right. And I think that was ESPN Network, right? Being like, you're not doing this for 3 hours. Like, let's make this 1 hour. That's it. It was kind of chaotic. Right? There was a lot going on. I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought maybe there'd be a little more freedom to roam, but there wasn't.
And that, to me, felt like a product of the venue for sure.
So the host, looking back, I wish Kucherov would have maybe gotten up and given him a wedgie or something. He was kind of annoying. He was funny at times, trying to a little too hard at others. So yeah, I think the award show, it was a medium. Is there something wrong with our sound?
Well, someone was saying it was low, so I just want to make sure it wasn't low.
I sound great there.
I think you're good.
As always, I sound great.
I don't know. All right, we're good.
Jay's trying to get me to read his lips while I can't see his lips. So, awesome.
Let us know in the chat if. All right, we were told it was bumped up. Let us know in the chat if for some reason that's not good. Yeah, I'm with you. It would have been in the past. We've always been in like kind of like a back like green room, so it's nothing but roaming and talking to people and kind of commenting on things as it's going on. This one was different because we were like almost up above. We could see the event floor, so you had to keep your voice down while the show was going on, and you couldn't really get up and move because the house lights were down, and so that part was definitely a little bit different.
Yeah, and then I ate something that I think amplified my hangover somehow, some way.
I forgot about that. I was hungover all day because we had so much stuff that we were doing. I didn't eat. JJ, being more responsible than me, woke up, forced himself out of bed to go get food first thing in the morning. I didn't do that. Well, it's not that I didn't want to do that. Mark and I had to get up, and we got the studio all set up in the hotel room and all that.
But it was at the award show. They had a big selection, and it could have been a number of things because I got a little bit of everything there.
Well, but what I was just going to say was JJ and I had two separate tracks because I felt horrible leading up to that, and then I got food, and I was like, oh, okay, hangover gone. I'm in a good spot. And with every bite, I just saw JJ slumping further and further over. Oh, I just feel terrible. Cleaned his plate, felt horrible.
And then to make matters worse, we went down there, talked to Connor Hellebuck, right? I was holding our boom mic with the Guerilla Sports flag on it, but I had it set too short. So I really was like out here. My arms were shaking, and he would not shut up. The Winnipeg media would not stop asking him questions about, what do you think about this guy signing? What do you think about the new coach? And I'm just like,
have you mowed your lawn so far this summer?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
So by the time Nathan McKinnon came up, I had it longer. I was able to rest it against my hip and had some more leverage on the pole. Didn't quite have to just have my arms out. So I had a tough time
at the awards.
But we got through it. We battled hard.
Yep.
And came out on top.
Yeah, look, it doesn't always go the way you drew it up. And
for a second, I was like, oh gosh, what if I'm just sitting here for Nathan McKinnon's presser and I just faint? That'll go viral. That'll put Guerilla Sports on the map for the wrong reasons.
I was hoping for it just a little bit. I was like, well, if he passes out, we'll make them.
And then I've got Arif in my
blog buzz.
Arif in my ear giving me corny jokes. I wanted to take the boom mic and cross-check him in the face with it, but no, I had to hold it there, keep my composure.
Shout out to the Avs media contingent.
Everybody.
Big showing in Vegas for the draft and for the awards. All right, well, let's get a little bit into free agency, I guess. We talked about the Sphere and all of that a couple days ago. Incredible experience. I'm sure we'll reference it several times over the summer. But, JJ, the big one that I think we need to start with, you and I talked in the weeks leading up saying if you can keep Jonathan Drouin under $5 million, if you can get that deal done under $5 million on the cap hit, you're going to be feeling pretty good. You're going to feel like you got him on a nice bargain. It's going to allow you a little bit of flexibility to do other things. 1 year, 2.5.
Cut it in half.
Cut that in half. I want to talk about what the implications probably are going forward. But my goodness, I was floored when I saw this one come in.
Yeah, I guess I was more shocked by the term, right? I think the 1 year was the bigger, like, wow, he only signed for 1 year again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously a pay upgrade for him, which I think he's happy about.
More than double, yep.
The 1 year was probably the product of his happiness that we've been touching on for so long here in Colorado coming into play. Like, it had to be C-Mac being like, look, like, this is all we have for you right now. 1 year, I promise you that next year we'll revisit this. We'll hook you up. Everything will be better. Mm-hmm. But please work with us on this. And, a little bit of a handshake. Like, I promise you next year will be a much different conversation. Get you, We just have to navigate the circumstances right now and the unknowns.
JJ, I completely agree. That's exactly what this contract says to me, is that Jonathan Drouin understands how good of a situation this is for him. He understands how much the Avalanche want him here. And he understands that their hands are tied right now. And I think him being willing to take a 1-year deal, I wouldn't even be all that shocked if there's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Your next contract's already in the drawer if you want to take a look at it before you sign this one.
Or like, here's a napkin, right? Like, this will be next year's.
Here you go. You got something on your face. You know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case at all. And I think it should be that way. This is him clearly doing them a solid. Find me a more team-friendly deal in the NHL right now where you can point to it and say, that's the player doing the franchise a favor.
Yeah. Not to mention, we heard reports of other suitors giving him better offers.
Boston, New York, St. Louis, all teams that would have had the ability to throw money at him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is him saying, my family loves it here. I loved it here. And JJ, like, he built his game back. Like, he built his game back up from, like, being a true reclamation project to, like, he's being looked at to several teams were interested in his services. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to be able to do now after having put all that work in to be able to come into next season with his confidence back up, understanding how this team plays, et cetera, et cetera.
And we can't underplay the role that Nathan MacKinnon had in this,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, he could have easily been in the corner of that negotiating room, like, don't you think about signing anywhere else? No, but all jokes aside, I think Nathan MacKinnon had to be like, dude, we did such good stuff this year. Let's keep doing it. We can do more. We can keep growing. Then look at what your next contract's going to look like when we actually have a little bit of flexibility and breathing room. So I think he'd be silly not to have re-signed here. And I think in the long run, it's going to extend his career. It's going to extend his point totals, his production. Everything is going to be better for him here in Colorado.
And then a comment just came through here. How would Drouin's contract be any better next year? We have to sign Mikko. Cap space is only going to get worse for the Avs. A couple reasons it's going to be better next year. One, you're right. You do have to re-sign Mikko Rantanen. He's going to get a raise, but not a massive raise over what he's currently being paid. Mikko Rantanen's already very well compensated. It will be a raise, not going to be crazy. The salary cap is expected to go up $4 million, if not a little bit more, by next summer. Not to mention, next summer, you're also going to have more clarity on Gabe Landeskog. What is that situation? Is that a player? Is he back? Is he fully healthy? Is he ready to play out the rest of that deal? You're going to have clarity on that. You're also going to have another year, not another year of clarity. That's Gabe Landeskog. You're going to have a much better understanding of what your situation is with Valeri Nichushkin. Is he back? Is he playing in your organization? Is that a contract that you've got to worry about? Or has he been suspended for a year, removed from the league? Is that a contract that now you've been able to get rid of, trade, buy out? Has it been terminated? Has Val gone back to Russia? It's not just about being tight up against the salary cap for the Avs this year that's the problem. It's that you've got two players taking up about $13 million that you don't know if are available to you or not. You don't know if that money is available to you or not. That's the difference between this summer and next summer, is the clarity. And knowing what Val Nichushkin's situation is and knowing Gabe Landeskog's health status. That's the difference. Not to mention Mikko Rantanen probably going to get a $2 million raise. You're probably going to get a little bit more than $4 million in additional cap space. So
the cap space was really what drove my point, but I also think there's trades to navigate still, right?
Yes.
I mean, Ross Colton's name's still being thrown around. We can't guarantee that he's going to stick around through the trade deadline. I think Sam Girard's another piece that is always up there in conversation, right? Not saying that I want it or that I'm rooting for it, but that's $5 million that you could potentially move somewhere else.
Josh Manson's name's been in rumors.
Yeah, so there you go. I think there's a lot of different ways they can navigate it. Right now, this very second, it's just a little bit tight.
It's a little bit tight, and there's just too much uncertainty with different parts. So I think they really like Drouin. I think Drouin really likes it here. And I thought what Corey Masisak from the Denver Post said yesterday on Twitter, I don't know if you saw it. He mentioned just how big of a discount this is for Drouin to take. And the point that Corey made, he said, for all the talk about tax incentives in certain states, what's more enticing than that? Winning. And being in a good situation and being in a winning culture and playing for a team that is a contender. And Drouin taking the money that, make no mistake about this, taking the money that he did keeps them in that contender status.
Yeah, and obviously it's still a raise from what he got last year. So
it's 3 times the amount what he was making last year.
Right. So I think if you're like, I was fine last year, I think I'll be okay with 3 times the amount. And then next year, if they stick to their word or that napkin rings true, I'm going to double it again.
And not to mention, like you and I talked about this, saying like, look, his agent's Alan Walsh. You got to wait and see. But Drouin is a guy who had signed multiple very lucrative contracts in the past. It wasn't like he was, coming off an ELC or nothing but $800,000 deals. Jonathan Drouin has put a lot of money in the bank over the course of his NHL career already. One more year where he's taking less than maybe what he's not maybe less than what he's worth, probably about half of what he's worth. Like you said, we'll sign that contract again next year, and it'll be 1 year where I took a little bit less for the sake of my happiness, my mental health, and a good situation for my family.
Yeah, and for Nathan McKinnon.
I
did it for Nate.
But Nate, I really am. I'm excited to see, because I felt like so much of the beginning of last year was Drouin building himself back into the hockey player that he probably felt he could be.
Yeah, the production that we saw out of Drouin towards the end of the season too, right, really gave you hope for the direction he's heading and the comfort he's feeling with this team.
It felt like it was for him in that season, where it was good, and then really good right there at the end.
I like that. It's called that the Drouin dance.
Woo! Dude, look for it here. Look for it here. Calvin DeHaan comes in as a third pairing guy for the Avs on a nice cheap deal, less than $1 million, about $900K. I really like that as a Jack Johnson replacement, probably even looking at a little bit of a slight upgrade. JJ, I think going back to when I was producing your shows for BSN, there was rumors of the Avs like Calvin DeHaan, and they finally get it done.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just that. It's an upgrade on Jack Johnson, not to slight Jack Johnson in any way. He was a great piece here. But there were times where you're like, man, why is Jack Johnson in the lineup so regularly? I think he did a lot of good. He was strong, had that old man strength. But I think Calvin DeHaan just presents a little bit more skill, more well-rounded, right? I think Jack Johnson was really about the physical side of the game, which he was able to pull off beautifully, because
the physical side and the head fakes.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say next is Evan primarily, but me and Evan brought up his head fakes. He would use it every single time. But I've said it before. Jack Johnson really shined later in his career because the league is getting smaller. The league's more about speed than it is size, and he's more about size. So he was able to just toss some of these kids around
while being a good skater too.
Yeah.
Like that was a hallmark of the early parts of his career.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and claim to know the ins and outs of Calvin DeHaan's game, but I know he's definitely got a little more well-roundedness to him.
He's a meat and potatoes guy like Jack Johnson. Like I'm with you. I don't think there's I don't think the Avs are looking for a ton of intricacies to Calvin DeHaan's game. We want you to come in, be a third pairing guy, jump up in the rush, make good plays coming out of the defensive zone, and protect the house. I think that's what you're looking for out of a guy like Calvin DeHaan.
Well, and he's got to be a cultural fit too, right? He's
sure.
got to come in here, work hard, be a part of the post-game workouts, and make sure he's keeping an eye on that nutrition, not being a party guy whatsoever, which now being a seasoned NHL guy, that's probably out of his system if it was ever in there. So, yeah, you got to fit the whole picture to really join the Avalanche.
Well, and this is a guy who has played for the Chicago Blackhawks, played for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's been around winning cultures. He understands the grind and what it takes, and I think that goes hand in hand with what you're talking about. As far as a cultural fit, one of the reasons why the Avs probably really have always been intrigued by Calvin DeHaan and now are finally able to make something work. This is a guy that they know they're not going to have to coach up in terms of, ramping it up at the right time of year, et cetera, et cetera. So I if you're not going to bring Jack Johnson back, I like this. I think he's a guy that you could maybe even have a couple healthy scratches here and there to make sure that he's staying fresh. He's not going to be perfect. He's going to give you a slight upgrade on Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
The signing today, the Avs did a lot yesterday. There was a lot of business done yesterday. Callie Rosen was another guy brought a lot of guys back.
Yeah, interesting. TJ Tynan.
Yeah, Jacob McDonald. A lot of guys that used to be in the organization now coming back. Hey, I guess you like the familiarity. To me, those three names that we listed, Callie Rosen, Jacob McDonald, TJ Tynan, those are all AHL first call-up type guys.
Yep.
They're going to be your black aces at the end of the year. If you get a couple injuries deep, you'll see them get some reps. I don't think any of those guys are being brought in to be lineup regulars.
No, yeah, we're still looking for that replacement for Sean Walker, which is what we're banking on Sam Malinsky to be, right? So even, I think, put Sam Malinsky on top of any of those guys, called, of course, different positions, different people.
Jacob McDonald, defense.
Yeah, sure. So
that leads us into the one signing that came through today that I wasn't expecting at all. And they get Eric Brandstrom signed, got his player card up there. Analytics darling, and a little bit of a reclamation project. His underlying numbers really strong, JJ. You can see the improvement year to year. He's found a way to stick in Ottawa the last couple of seasons after being a little bit up and down. This is a guy that I really like this, JJ, because this is now competition for Sam Malinsky. You are now going to have Eric Brandstrom, Sam Malinsky trying to bring the best out of each other. And I think if you're the Avs, what you hope that leads to is that you end up with two guys that you can't take either of them out of the lineup type thing.
Well, I like that right there on the player card it even points out position left D/right D. Right?
Yeah.
How important has that been for the Avalanche to have a guy that can play both sides?
Yep.
And not, that was kind of Bo Byram's biggest qualm was I don't feel comfortable on this side of the ice. So if you can get a guy that does feel comfortable on all sides, all situations, it sounds like a plus to me.
Well, and, I think if you look at their top four, you don't feel as good without Bo and Byram.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. But I think if you're looking at your defense 1 through 7 with Sam Malinsky and now Eric Brandstrom, I think you are still feeling very good about the depth and just the overall every pair. I don't think there's any pairing where it's like, oh, you don't want to get caught with them out there. Going back to the Stanley Cup final, I remember there were so many times where the Oilers would get caught with Cody Ceci and Darnell Nurse out there. And it's like, oh boy, you might be in trouble. And I just don't feel like as long as you're appropriately matching, you're not going to ever feel like you're in a position where you're in trouble.
Yeah, and the Avalanche do their homework on the analytics side of it, and I think they also do a really good job of preparing for the worst. You don't know who's going to be in the lineup for how many games.
Yep.
So you got to have backups, and you got to have backups for your backups. So, considering what happened to Sam Girard last year, they found themselves in a situation where D was a little shorthanded. We're coming in the year, you're like, oh, they feel pretty strong, and there's a lot of ammunition. Jack Johnson will probably be watching from the press box a few times where he wasn't. So yeah, I think they're just loading up the armory. Is that the word I'm looking for there?
Yeah, that could be a word.
Well, I guess let me ask you something. Do you feel like the team got better in the last week?
I'm so glad you transitioned here because this is exactly where I was going.
Because for me, it stung to see Yakov Trenin leave.
Yeah, 3.5. Can you believe that? Would you have given that guy 3.5?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. So here's what's hard about answering that question. Are they better right now than they were on July 2nd last year on paper? You probably say no because you had Valeri Nichushkin on July 2nd last year. And you just don't know. So here's what the projected lineup is. And I'm going to say this is the projected lineup for January. And I'm going to assume Gabe Landeskog is continuing on a good track.
Yeah.
Jonathan Drouin, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen. Gabe Landeskog, Casey Middlestat, Arturi Lehkonen. Miles Wood, Ross Colton, Logan O'Connor. Now, this is where you get a little bit, I'm not sure. This one has a projected lineup of Jean-Luc Foudy, Chris Wagner, Nikolai Kovalenko. And then on D, you're looking at Taves, Makar, Gerard, Manson, Malinsky, DeHaan, Brandstrom. Some pair of those three is your bottom. The fourth line I don't love. Now, the one name I didn't mention there is Kivi Ranta. Kivi Ranta does come back yesterday on another near league min deal. So maybe you plug in him there on that fourth line instead of Chris Wagner.
Or even Jean-Luc Foudy.
Or Jean-Luc Foudy, right.
I would love to see Jean-Luc Foudy get more ice time next year, but who knows if he's really ready for it, where you know what you've got in Kivi Ranta. You've had a whole year of it.
Yep. I think it comes down to what does Kovalenko do? How does he adapt to the NHL game? And can you get a Jean-Luc Foudy to make the jump? I like what we've seen from Foudy. I think he's been a good American League player. I think he's got some nice skill and finish and speed. I think he kind of plays the way the Avs want to play, but we got to see him make the leap.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. As I run through that, again, assuming Gabe Landeskog is back and he's at least 85%. Comment in the chat saying Parker Kelly will probably also be in the lineup there. Again, yeah, but I kind of put the Parker Kelly name in there with Chris Wagner and really any of those fourth line guys where I'm not comfortable writing any of their names in pen on that fourth line.
We even got a second. Parker Kelly is going to play. They're calling their shot.
I mean, great. You still have a lot of things to figure out.
Well, and the real question, okay, take Gabe Landeskog out of that lineup.
Yep.
Then where do you kind of go?
Exactly.
I think that's where things kind of get sticky.
So to me, as I look at this, I actually think they've done a good job. Given how cap-strapped they are, I think they've done a good job. It comes down to... Because suddenly, if you're adding Val and Gabe back into this, then yeah, I do think they're better than they were last year.
Yeah.
I do think that. Because then you're talking about having to probably drop Lehkonen down to play with Colton and O'Connor. And then you're talking about Miles Wood on your fourth line. And then, all kinds of things change. And this is what goes back to what we were saying earlier about Drouin kicking the can down the road till next year. So much uncertainty.
Yeah. So I think without Landeskog and Nichushkin, do you think O'Connor slides up to that? I think
probably him or Colton. And then you're really figuring out how your bottom six looks.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, because if it's Colton that moves up, I think O'Connor's perfectly comfortable sliding to center.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's O'Connor that moves up, Colton's perfectly fine staying at center.
Right.
And then I think you got some valid fourth liners, like nothing that really jumps off the page, but Kovalenko could potentially jump into that third line. Wagner can probably do it if you really need him to.
Those are the two that I'm kind of thinking for that.
And we'll see what Parker Kelly has to bring. Apparently a fan favorite.
and really, I agree. Like I think that he got a multi-year deal. But there is no set and forget in the bottom six under this coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not what we've seen play out in the Jared Bednar tenure in the years that they've been competitive. We've seen Andre Burakovsky healthy scratched. Like, they're going to play the players that they think are making the most impact. And to me, not seeing Parker Kelly, how he fits into the system, I kind of lump him in with Chris Wagner and Miles Wood, Kovalenko and food. As far as let's see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no free ice time when you're playing for Jared Bednar. they give him a one-way deal. Again, he's been an in and out of the lineup guy with the Sens. I expect it to be the same thing here until he proves it.
Yeah, so I would say, to answer my own question, the team did not necessarily get better. I don't think they got worse.
Yeah.
But I would say, as a whole, the organization got better.
I agree with that. I think the last 7 days have been good for the Avalanche organization.
100%.
I think that's a great call out. Look, you and I talked about it when we were in Vegas. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. When you start getting into 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, you're hard pressed to find people that are ultra familiar with a lot of these prospects. But in the research that we did immediately following some of those picks, some of the folks that we were able to talk to there in Vegas, I like the fact that it feels like the Avs have restocked their pipeline a bit. They've given themselves a new goaltending prospect that there's a lot of high hope for. And I think by doing the work that they did yesterday on the free agent market, I think they've given themselves a lot of options, and they did as best they could with limited cap space to keep themselves competitive and give themselves a chance to be right in it. Now, the other thing that was pointed out yesterday on Twitter that I wasn't fully aware of at the time, depending on when Val Nichushkin, well, it's going to be prorated. Depending on when Val Nichushkin is cleared to return to the team, if that ends up being what happens, the Avs will not be absorbing his full cap hit. It'll be prorated for the rest of the season. So if he's back right in November when he's first eligible, well, then you're going to absorb most of that cap hit. And if he's back with the Avs, I know there's people that have a lot of thoughts on it. We'll get more into it over this summer. If he's back with the Avs and he's able to stay straight and not get caught up in everything that he's getting caught up in now, well, that's a really good player that you get back. And he's going to play the whole season, and there you go. That's great. If he either doesn't come back or he comes back and he gets suspended again and all that stuff, well, then the money's freed up and you can go out and make additions with that money and you can improve your team with that money. But I just think the reality is the Avs are in a tough spot this summer, and I think they've done a good job with that. And now you just kind of have to wait to see what happens with Gabe Landeskog and Val Nichushkin.
Yeah. I mean, we've touched on it since the season ended. To me, it feels like it's a situation that they're not going to be able to avoid.
Yep.
So might as well make the best of it while you can. And I think if there was any tension between player and team, we would have heard about it. We saw Val Nichushkin post to his Instagram looking fly yesterday, still with his Avalanche avatar on it. So I think reading between the lines maybe a little bit too much, it feels like it's inevitable that he's going to make a return, which from an X's and O's standpoint, can't complain.
Look, with no one's excusing what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
No one, not even the Avs.
Right.
When we gave them a chance to play nice about it, even they didn't. They were up front. He made the mistake.
Yeah.
It's on him. Our sympathy for it is done. All of that, I'm not telling anybody to change their opinion. I'm not telling anybody to think differently. I'm not telling anybody that Val doesn't deserve 100% of that criticism. The reality is the Avalanche are likely stuck with it. So you got to find a way to make the best out of this situation because, to your point, JJ, in all likelihood, you're stuck. So if he comes back, the only way you can look at it is we have no choice but to give you another chance, and we hope that you're the hockey player that you've said that you are, because that's our only option. I'm not telling people to like it, think it's right, wrong, or indifferent. That's it. That's the only choice.
Yep.
And we did ask Chris McFarland about it yesterday during his availability. He said that right now, the way this process works, they're not really directly involved. They're made aware of stuff when they need to be made aware. And he said, we've been told that, Val is back in Russia and playing in a league there and following the steps of his rehab steps that he needs to. So to answer some of those questions that we've gotten about how is the team involved and stuff like that, from what Chris McFarland told us yesterday, the PA kind of intentionally creates some separation between the player and everything else, team, the league, and they kind of deal with them directly. He said that he's continuing to follow the steps back home in Russia, and we'll see. We won't have any clarity on this till October.
I think it's a good sign that he genuinely gives enough of a shit to join some sort of league, keep his fitness somewhat high. I think if he was really in a dark place, he'd be like, it's screw hockey right now. I'm not even going to put my skates on for the next 6 months. So I think, might be trending the right direction.
And again, that's all you can hope for if you're the Avs or an Avalanche fan, because your only option is to hope that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only choice that you have. So we'll see. I think it was a good day for free. It was as good of a day on free agency as the Avs could have had, knowing that we knew the whole time they weren't going to be crazy involved on stuff. You and I liked what they did in the draft. And then last thing I guess that I'll say on free agency stuff is I asked Chris McFarland yesterday about what he told us at the draft about Drouin, that not only was Jonathan Drouin good for the Avalanche were good for Drouin. And I asked him if that came up during the negotiations, and he made the point of it didn't need to. We all went into those meetings with that understanding. And I just think, man, I think Chris McFarland I think he's been fairly put under a microscope since taking over as GM, because everything seemingly that Joe Sakic did turned to gold. Now, the part that I think a lot of people leave out of that is how much of a hand Chris McFarland had in a lot of the moves that Joe Sakic made. But I think, you and I were even laughing at the Casey Middlestat extension. The reply that we got on one of our videos was classic overpay. Another, Chris McFarland overpay. Hard to build a winning team like this. I think he's gotten a lot of flack because he's the GM that took over after you won a Stanley Cup, when all the major surgery has to start because you did so much to get yourself there. And I think him being able to go into those negotiations with Alan Walsh, Jonathan Drouin, and have it be something where it wasn't this take it to the mat, drag it out fight. It was one where they were able to go in and say, we all understand. We're all on the same page. Let's find a way to make this work, and finding creative solutions. I just didn't want to let that go by. I think Chris McFarland deserves massive credit for getting that Drouin deal done, equal to how much credit Drouin deserves for being willing to take a team-friendly deal and stay here.
Right. That was the one piece we all had our eye on. And if Drouin walked, it was going to be heartbreaking for the fan base, heartbreaking for the team. And I think everybody was on the same page with that. I think after the draft even, we didn't get to talk to him on the record, but we saw Chris McFarland interacted with him a little bit after the draft. He was feeling good.
Yeah.
So, I think everything is working out the way he envisioned it. Let's trust the organization that they have the right guy in place and see how it all plays out. That's all we can do at this point, right?
That's right. And I think after the last week, kind of the official turn of the page to the next offseason, I think you have to be feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
We're back. More cards.
We restocked our armory.
Yeah.
Whatever word I was looking for there, I don't freaking know it.
Is that the second time you said armory?
Well, that's why I said it again, just to
I'll go first?
Yeah.
All right. I did one yesterday at the tail end of free agency.
You did it without me?
I did one without you. Well, we just have so many. I'm just so excited about them all.
You didn't do one of the metal ones, did you?
I did.
God damn it.
We got a Wyatt Johnston.
I hate you, and
rookie.
Everyone should too.
All right, so we've had these across various different years here. This is a 2021, 2022 pack. And
is that John Tavares on the cover?
It is John Tavares on the cover. New teammate of Oliver Ekman-Larsson. This is a Vancouver Canucks OEL. Florida Panthers Stanley Cup champion. New Toronto Maple Leaf defenseman.
I can't even hear you. I just feel stabbed in the back right now by you opening the metal pack without me. Next time you get one of the rookie packs.
Why don't you go get a metal one right now?
Because I already got one.
This guy. Scott Wedgwood, Arizona Coyotes. Colorado Avalanche Game 6 legend. Is he saying to hold up for longer?
Closer to you.
Closer to me. Oh, it's blurry. Colorado Avalanche Game 6 legend will forever be in the Avalanche history books. Darren Helm.
That's a good one.
As an Av. Got a good one here. Looks like some type of special card. Trevor Zegras. I know Blake will like that one.
Oh, that's a good one,
He's
too.
a big Trevor
I love that
Zegras
one.
guy.
We have one. We have a page for our fancy cards. I think that one goes into the fancy cards.
Goes into the fancy cards. Eric Holla, Boston Bruins, when he was with the Bruins. Here's an interesting one. A Zach Parise and Zdeno Chara with the Islanders.
Checklist one, though. Those suck.
What's the checklist one?
It's not a real card. It's just kind of like, hey, do you have all of these cards? Use this to check them all off.
Yeah, that is
They
kind of
just
lame.
wasted a card spot to give us that.
We got a Victor Hedman. It's like his
Mugshot.
yeah, it's his player shot, but it's his
Show the camera.
second NHL All-Star second team card. And then we finish it out with Big Save Dave, the year he got absolutely smoked by the Avs in the playoffs with the Nashville Predators. Big Save Dave. All
Wait,
right.
Yours was 21-22?
21-22.
Oh, I got 22-23.
All right.
Alex Ovechkin on the cover of mine. Let's get these babies open and see what we got here. Josh Morrissey.
There you go.
Nothing crazy.
Josh Norrisy, am I right?
No.
Yeah.
Ryan Pulak. Ooh, I got a jersey one.
Nice.
Jordan Harris.
Who?
Cares? Good one, Jesse. Got a checklist myself. This one has Nate McKinnon and Leon Draisaitl. Man, they're really just giving us these checklists. There better not be a checklist in every pack with these ones. But it's a cool one, right? Nate McKinnon, Leon Draisaitl's fun. Patrice Bergeron, 22-23, right? So this is his final year
Yeah.
in the NHL.
Yep. That's a good one.
That's a good pull. And finally, Jaden Schwartz. I'm not sure if we've had any
Kraken yet?
Kraken yet.
I'm going to look up. Because this is a Jordan Harris rookie card with his jersey. Dude,
The jersey ones are fun. They're cool.
I pride myself on being pretty damn familiar with like most players in like active in the NHL. I don't know who Jordan Harris is. That is a cool one though.
Well, and
The jersey's dope.
those of you who saw the vlog piece from the draft saw that I hit Upper Deck.
Yep. And we got a full length version of that coming out soon. Jason's cranking away on.
Oh, that'll be fun. But in that, they gave me, or I won. They didn't give them to me. I had to earn them. A couple of the jersey cards, right? And one of them was Brett Hull, a Brett Hull jersey. I think that was the coolest card that we got. So, yeah, familiar with these jersey ones. They're really sweet.
Hey, our guy here, Jordan Harris, third-round pick in 2018, spent the last 2 seasons with the Maple Leafs. Gosh, is Jay coming in clutch, also sending me a link on Jordan Harris. He's played the last 2 seasons with the with the Habs on the back end there. So
wait, so he got drafted by Montreal?
Yep, Habs. I said.
Yeah,
Canadians. Yeah.
and then you said he went and played in Toronto?
Nope.
I thought you said something about the Leafs. Did
No.
you not? Thank you, Yadun.
I did. I said Toronto.
Yep, you said the Leafs.
Oh, oopsie poopsie. Yeah, no, he's been with the Canadians his whole career. Drafted third round, been with the Canadians
Well,
there.
for the sake of our card, let's have a breakout season here, Jordan
Yeah, come
Harris.
come on. I'm now invested in how well Jordan Harris is going to do this year.
Let's go.
Well, perfect. I think that should about do it. JJ, first season's done. Like we're officially, that's it.
Yeah, that's true. This is the point that Bob McKenzie would always head out and drink margaritas, right? Until he retired officially, and now he's margaritaing every day. This was always up. I mean, I was listening to NHL radio on Sirius XM as I tend to do, and you could tell they're already in summer mode, just replaying one show all day long. But no, we don't have a summer mode here at Guerilla Sports. We'll be here giving you fresh shows. Could you imagine if we just played the replay of this show for the next 2 weeks?
Just open the same
mad
cards.
Everybody
every
would
day.
be.
No, yeah, we we aren't going anywhere. We're not done, but the first Guerilla Sports NHL season with free agency opening, I think we can close the book on it. It took 70 flights since September.
You counted them?
I went back through. I had to go back through and count. I didn't keep count.
I hope you got points and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you would book my flights. I only went on, 3 trips with you? So.
I picked up status on a couple airlines this year, but our flight to Vegas for the awards and the draft was my 69th flight of the season.
Nice.
Worked out really nice. And then we rounded it out. Can you believe it? I ended the season with an even number, 70. 70 individual flights from rookie camp, rookie tournament to draft.
31 cities.
Yep. 31 cities.
70 flights.
And 32 arenas.
And 1 million smiles.
And
both delivered and received.
We'll be back. We will be taking off the rest of this week with the holiday. Everyone here at Guerilla Sports has been, grinding away since September. It seems like there's been more weeks than not where multiple of us are working 7 days a week. So we are actually going to take, we will have Guerilla Sports Daily for you guys tomorrow, but then Thursday, Friday, there will be no shows in the studio. But then we're right back at it on Monday with your regularly scheduled programming, which means Av shows Monday, Friday. JJ and I will be sitting right here talking just general NHL every Tuesday. So we're not going anywhere. And our Broncos coverage is actually kicking into high gear this month. I'm getting away for the holiday weekend because I know as soon as I get back in town, we're right back into it with the start of another season. I'm really excited. Nate Jackson, Liv Moods are going to be doing a lot of those shows.
Is there reason to be excited for the Broncos? Or are they going to suck? Obviously, there's reason to be excited for our coverage of the Broncos, but...
Yeah, so my understanding... Not my understanding. My take on it and people that I'm talking to, people that work here, Nate, BK, I think this is a year you should be excited. If you're a Broncos fan, you should be excited about the direction. They're picking a direction, and this seems like they're going to officially be rebuilding this year, which is a good thing. They've tried to skirt the rebuild for almost a decade now, and they've sucked. They've been really bad.
Skirt.
And don't try to talk yourself into them being very good this year. They're not. They're not going to be good this year.
Skirt.
But that's okay.
Yep.
And they're skirting.
Skirt.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Yeah, we can't go away for too long because we have so many hockey cards to open.
Yeah. Plus, we just have a fun time here.
Love doing this. Do you have anything else to say?
No, you already asked me that.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh. Jay's team won. When do you play Jay's team in Euro Cup?
Got to get past Germany first on Friday morning.
So we're in quarterfinals?
Yep.
Down to 8.
Yep. But we already know, based off watching that game with Jay, that his team's terrible and they stand no chance, right? Oh, we're back? Are we back?
Yeah. We're back. Yeah, but who were they playing?
Some team of bums. Romania.
I think this is the first year Romania was even in the Euro Cup. So they're probably not even any good.
Bunch of gypsies.
It's just kind of a freebie given to the Netherlands. All right, that's it.
Bless your heart if you're still here.
Yeah. Jay's back there running the board, losing his mind at us talking about the Netherlands. And I did also mention this yesterday. Jay put his heart and soul into putting together a Nathan MacKinnon video while we were all out doing other stuff. Jay kind of put this together quietly. He was like, "Hey, I thought we should tell something or you did something that kind of tells the story of Nathan MacKinnon and how he went from being a first overall pick to finally becoming the most valuable player in the NHL and the most outstanding player as voted by the other players in the league. Go check that out. Jay sent it to us while we were in Vegas, and we were all just super proud, super happy of what he was able to put together while we were all out doing other stuff in Vegas. So make sure you guys go check that out. Jay worked super hard on it. It came out fantastic. So for Jay, that's JJ. I'm Jesse. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great, very safe holiday week here if you're in the U.S. We'll talk to you guys on Monday.
Bye, Mickey Mouse.